sometimes we can't always have music with lyrics. Sometimes we just got to like rock out. So there you have it. From the 1981 album Moving Pictures, that was Rush with their song YYZ. Hey everybody, welcome to Square Bootcamp. Happy Thursday to you. Hopefully you're having a great Thursday. We're so happy that you joined us here today. So today, this is part 4 of our ongoing series with Square Bootcamp. Today's topic, payments and invoices. Producer Hind working the magic behind the scene. Can you jump over to that next slide? And we're going to talk about today's objectives. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to give some mad love to Producer Hind. Always working her hardest behind the scenes and always getting it right whenever we need her. So with today's objectives, let's kind of cover these very quickly. I have a couple of quick announcements after, and then we're going to jump right into content. So today's objectives, we're going to talk about those payments and invoice features on the back end of Square. Estimates. So what are we going to cover? We're going to cover contracts, deposits. We're going to talk about what's called a payment milestone, and you'll get an understanding of what that is fairly soon. And we're going to talk about auto conversion, which is also available in estimates. We're also going to be covering invoices in that section. This is the part where you should pay very close attention. We're going to talk about cash discounting using ACH and other accepted payment methods. What? ACH and Square? Scott, get out of here. No, seriously, hang out. We're going to make sure we get that covered. And also when we talk about invoices, we're going to be talking about chargeback protection. Then we're going to jump into what's called projects. Now in projects, when you look at it in Square, think of it as exactly like a project management board where you can just kind of move things from left to right or right to left or just drop it wherever you need it. It doesn't make sense now because I'm talking about it, but when you see it, you're going to go, aha, my God, that Frenchman, he was just on top of his game. Boom. Payments and payment links and product permalinks. For the most part, I think everybody knows what a payment link is, but we're going to show you how that works. Subscriptions versus recurring billing. Aha! This one I'm super excited about because everybody goes, aren't they one and the same? Au contraire, no, they are not. Now we're going to get those defined when we jump into the back end of the portal. Also today, dispute manager, risk manager, and we're going to show how things can be managed as far as customers go with contracts and the templates that are included. Producer Hind, thank you for sharing the screen. Domo arigato as always, my friend. To you, the sales agent. Okay, so welcome to Square Bootcamp. We're going to be doing this all the way through the end of September, every single Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, just like Toolbox Tuesday, if you want to use an AI note taker, go ahead and go for it. Get it launched. We don't mind at all. Just know that this is being recorded and it is going to go live on our YouTube channel probably within the next 24 hours or so. Now, you may have noticed that the look and feel of these webinars kind of feels like, it's Scott and John talking to you, but we really can't see you as a panelist and everything else. For the most part, friends, when we initially launched this, we had it set up so that, it felt more like a presentation. So this way we could just kind of get through the content and everything else. But you know what? We've determined over the past 4 weeks that we've been doing this, that we're like, you know what? We like the format of Toolbox Tuesday and Coffee with Closers better. So beginning next week, it's going to have that look and feel again. So when you join us next week, you're going to see all the participants listed on the side. You're going to have that chat feature. You won't have to raise your hand to ask a question, meaning we won't have to take you off mute. So get ready for that one next week. Now, with that said, this is the most important piece that I need to share with you. When you got that email yesterday to register for today, you, sales agent, you might have registered for more upcoming sessions. Okay? Pay attention. Now, if you registered for other sessions coming up, this is the part where I'm going to say to you, our marketing department, they're going to send another email soon saying, register for all the Square Bootcamps. Get yourself re-registered. One more time with feeling, get yourself re-registered again. And the reason I say that is because we're going back to the Toolbox Tuesday, Coffee with Closers look, feel, where it's an open environment, people can speak freely, no raising hands, no Q&A feature. So if you signed up for next week, the following week, or if you signed up for all of September, just know you are going to have to re-register again. Okay, just wanted to make sure I got ahead of that. We have two more Square boot camps happening here in the month of August. Join us next week on Thursday, August 20th. During that session, we're going to talk about appointments and bookings. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's when you really should be joining. You really should be. Why do I say that? Well, think about all those businesses that you talk to, all of those salons, or any of those private fitness instructors that would possibly need the ability to set up booking calendars, schedule appointments, things along those lines. Make sure you join us for that next week, Thursday, August 20th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Then we're going to wrap up the month of August on August 27th, our final session. That one is called Types, Menus, and Services. So for those businesses that need to have menus set up in their Square, or if they offer services to all of their customers, we're going to walk through that, okay? Whew. A lot of content in the very beginning, but guess what? We ain't done yet. So as we present content for probably like the next 35, 40 minutes or so, think of all the questions that you've got. Go ahead, type those right into the Q&A. We're going to make sure that we get those addressed. And then after we're done presenting content, that's where, for the last time, I promise, for the last time, you're going to use the raised hand feature. We'll take you off mute, and then you can ask your questions. But we do want to hear from you. Get your questions ready for us. And now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, give some love to our guest panelists all the way down in New Jersey. Put your hands together for John Marshall. Hey, John.
Hey, Scott. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Glad to
good to
be
see you.
back. Glad to be back on the air again. And
Yeah.
and by the way, Scott, just to recap, when you talked about menus, items, and services, we've been talking about how to use some of these great Square features for this month. And that pivot is going to start talking about setting up, the underlying items and services, kind of as you're configuring your demo account, right? So we're doing a little bit of a pivot. That's going to be sort of pulling back the curtain on the how to, whereas these early sessions are really talked about, features that just live, on the portal or on the device. So looking forward to all those. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. September is going to be another great series of topics. But what I really want to talk about briefly, and Scott, you can see my main Square.
I can. Yes, sir.
We talked about this last week. I'm going to continue to talk about this. This should be your go-to for everything Square. Again, it's just squareup.com. I happen to be at the pricing page. This is not surprising. These are the rack rates. But what is really valuable here is you can go down and you can pick the different verticals that Square supplies and offers. So we're going to just pick on services today because we're thinking about invoices and estimates. But this really calls out the features in Plus and Premium over free. And I say that because a lot of these advanced features that we're going to be getting into in invoicing don't live in the free account, right? Free is really for that sole practitioner or road warrior, whatever. But a lot of the advanced features are up here in the paid Plus and Premium plans. So that's just where we're going to be. This should be your go-to for everything Square. What does it do? Which plan does it for you? But I just wanted to get that out there to have everybody think about it and remember that before we move ahead today.
And to you, the sales agent, just so you know, there's probably times where you're joining week after week and you're going, oh my gosh, Scott, John, we get it. You really want us to get out there and start with the Plus plan coming in at $49. Folks, the reason we keep reiterating it over and over again, this is where the value comes in. If you're going in because, ooh, I'm a little apprehensive about asking for $49 per month, you really shouldn't be. You really shouldn't be, because I can assure you, like John said, unless this business is a sole proprietor, if you're talking about a business that has multiple employees, multiple ways to get paid and everything else, you really got to start at that $49 plan. And admittedly, compared to a lot of other virtual terminals, considering what they charge for a SaaS, I'll tell you right now, $49 per month for unlimited devices all under one roof, this is an absolute steal. Now, another thing that I'm going to reiterate, and then I'm going to let John carry on with the content, as always, Square Bootcamp. These sessions are about helping you, the sales agent, navigate through your demo account. so that you can feel confident pulling out your device, whether it's your phone, whether it's your iPad, your Android tablet, whatever you have, so that you can demo the entire platform to a wide range of different merchants. As always, when we do Square Bootcamp, the one topic we will not address is anything that ties into pricing. Meaning, if you have questions regarding surcharging or cash discounting or dual pricing, unfortunately, this is the place. Our recommendation is to do one of two things. Either A, reach out to your local regional sales director, or B, send an email to sales@paycompass.com. John Marshall, take it away, my man. What are we going to talk about today, John?
So, Scott, I'm going to pick up on what you just mentioned because I think it's worth calling out, right? The free plan rack rates are published and transparent. They're right here. But to your point, to pay $49, you're saving 10 basis points here on the in-person, but you're saving 40 basis points for online. And that also includes invoicing like we're talking about today. So just to put that into context for everybody, the $49 a month will the saving, let me rephrase that, the savings from free to plus, if you do more than $32,000 a month in card processing, that $49 will pay for itself by way of these lower rates. And just to keep going a little bit further, this 149 premium will pay for itself in lower rates again in person above $100,000 a month. And those different tiers of small, medium businesses, that's where these feature sets are aimed at. So the premium are really going to be the larger business functional needs being addressed. The plus is very robust, but probably good for those middle of the road SMBs, from 0 to 100,000. So having said that, let's jump in to our topic today. Again, I'm in my demo account. Here's this big nav section. Payments and invoices is our topic today. I'm going to pull that down and I'm going to collapse the orders. I'm going to come back to those later, but I'm going to open up the invoices section. So a couple things Scott alluded to earlier, which I think is really interesting, is estimates are often requested. Think about a caterer, right? That's doing an event and maybe there's a couple different menu choices, options, plan A, B, or C, and different prices, different bells and whistles. Think about contractors going out and maybe they're repairing something or replacing an HVAC compressor, and there might be different brands, different sizes, different warranties. Those estimates can go out and then be converted automatically to invoices. But more importantly is there's a whole host that Scott mentioned of deposits and payment milestones. So think about again, hey, 10% upfront when you sign the contract, 50% within 7 days, the balance due within 30 days. All of that can be automated in this section. So let me show you rather than talk about all of this. So I have a couple sample estimates up here. I mentioned HVAC replacement, right? So let's drill into this one. And you can see I've got two options showing here. And I can view these package details, some significant pricing differences. But let me just open up and edit this estimate and show you more of what we're talking about. So we talked about customers in CRM in the past sessions, right? So I can pull from an existing customer and each purchase or service shows in their purchase history when you attach it to a particular customer. So again, this particular estimate is for an HVAC replacement. I can add attachments. So again, thinking about maybe that caterer again, attachments might be the service staff estimate, maybe the rentals and tablecloths estimate, and maybe the menu estimate. So all those attachments can be supplemental information for the estimate. Notice down here too, I've got a little slider that, well, I'm not going to do this particular one, but I can automatically convert the estimate to an invoice when the customer accepts, right? So think about that. I can present three options. They could pick one, and that choice will automatically convert into an invoice with a pay button. So super convenient. This is sort of a process flow that's being automated. Let's go to the next slide here of our estimates. Here's where you can define your different packages. Note there are a limit of 3, right? You can do up to 3, but I made up a couple things, right? I've got a 10-year warranty Train 12-ton package here. It's an expensive piece. It takes a lot of time to install. So, about a little over 10,000. And notice I've got a 20% initial deposit when you accept this, 50% within 7, and then 50, the other balance due within 30. So you can make all of these milestones fit your needs. Package 2, a different brand, lesser warranty, some savings in install and cost. There's our 2 packages, right? There's that 3rd package I could add. So super easy. Let me show you what these payment schedules look like quickly. Again, I don't need to necessarily do milestones. I can just request just a deposit. In this case, I have both activated. And Scott, you pointed this out the other day that you can do a deposit percentage, a fixed amount. What that percentage or fixed amount is, it'll text reminders to the customer if the due date has passed. So it'll automatically take on some of that AR functionality. Again, you can choose when it is due or a custom section, and it'll do the math for you. So the 20% equates to 2130. But I had this milestones also selected up top. So now I can continue to create different payment schedules with reminders at different intervals. So super flexible.
So
Yes.
they do have the merchant does have the ability to make changes on the fly based upon the customer that they're working with. So I can see in this example, 20% upfront, due upon invoice. Then when we do those milestones, 50% due within 7 days. I see another 50% due within 30 days. However, let's say the merchant's customer says, hey, you know what? Not really sure if I can do that within 30 days. The merchant has the option to come in here to push it out further or pull it back if they wanted to, John, correct?
Or they could break it into 2 milestones,
Or they can break it into more milestones, correct?
right?
Now,
So in this case, the 4,000 at 30 days, maybe it's 2,000 at 30, and the balance of the 2,000 at 60.
yeah, so what they could do is that final one where it's 50% due in 30 days. If the merchant wants to work with their customer, to your point, create more milestones, all right, we'll tell you what, the remaining balance, we'll break it out 25% within 30
Well,
days. And
let's
go
do
ahead.
that, Scott, right? So there's the 25, and I'm going to add another one, and this will be that final 25.
The final payment due in 60 days
And
or
we're going to do
40.
that, yep, in 60. Again, we're at the same end, but here now it's, the upfront 4,000 and then 2 installments of 2,100. So you can just keep going. Now, maybe you don't want to finance all your customers at the expense of your business, but you
Right.
certainly have the option.
So you presented an example. John, one of the things I love doing is I love sharing as many examples as possible just to get our sales agent thinking about who are those opportunities where they could present this to. So you said HVAC. In your example, you were showing 2 estimates, one for an air conditioner called Train, the other one was for an air conditioner called Carrier, showed the different pricing and everything else. One of the ones you said was catering, and you and I were just kind of bantering back and forth on this one yesterday. Some of those catering businesses, as an example, if they're working with folks that are getting married, but they have like 3 different packages to do for weddings or private functions, that's where they can put that together and, based upon it. What would you say are some other examples of businesses that might want to create multiple estimates for their customer base?
Well, to pick up on your catering again, there could be like a copper, silver, and gold plans,
Hmm.
more elegant tablecloths and items and menus and all that kind of thing. Um, Really, I'm thinking about our hybrid boot camp discussion,
Hybrids. Yeah.
right? So there's so many that we can't imagine, but the flexibility exists, right? Giving people choices, right? We even talk about this, with our services. Don't bring it down to a yes no answer. Ask them which one do you want to move ahead with, right? So
Provide
this
options.
gives you that flexibility. And Scott, this is I'm sort of I went through the update and the save it, but this actually is what that proposal would look like, and it gives you, a little visual. Again, here's your train 10-ton option number one, deposit schedule. By the way, here we modified it. The carrier is less expensive, but guess what? You've got to pay the balance like after 60 days. So maybe the less expensive isn't as flexible as the more expensive one, right? So
Yeah.
again, it'll fill out your company name and information, and then you can send that link. You can email it, text it, or share it. And you can even do an expiration. Like the estimate is only good for the next 30 days. So really, really handy stuff. Again, there's that share link if we want to do that. Let's just clear that all out, and we will go back to our summary page. So all of these also become a dashboard. So I can see this estimate is still outstanding and pending. These I have in draft form. I have not sent. You could also see if they've been accepted, they've been declined, right? So all of those can happen, and you can filter which of these you want to see or don't want to see. The other neat thing is if I'm an HVAC company and I've got this, I'm going to call it pending, I can actually open that up and I can go down here to more and I can duplicate this. So this is where you can use estimates as templates because maybe the train carrier option is something you offer to everyone. So now this, I don't have to recreate this for every customer. I can create some default estimates, just tap them, clone them, and then tie them to a new customer.
What's interesting is when you pulled up that menu at the very bottom, once again, Square being Square, always thinking ahead, outside of just duplicating the estimate to use for a wide variety of different customers that you may have, look what else Square is doing. You can convert it to an invoice or you can convert it to a recurring series.
Well, and as you mentioned, look, I can add this estimate to that project board you were talking about. So
Yep.
maybe all of these HVAC replacement are big projects for this company. I can manage those because the estimate would get converted to an invoice, again, choosing which brand, and then we could go through the different stages. So we'll show that a little bit later. So let's move out of this and let's actually, whoop, I need to get rid of my annotation stuff. Let's get rid of this guy and let's actually go up in. So we'll touch on projects in a moment. Let's go into invoices. So again, they can be straight invoices. They can be estimates that get auto or manually converted to invoices, right? So there's a couple different ways to do this. Again, here's that status draft. Again, you can copy and clone them as templates, right? So you can reuse them. In this particular example, I've got this. I think this is our HVAC thing again. We'll see here. Notice it gives me a red overdue, right? I should have paid this 3 days ago. I can send a reminder. I can take a payment over the phone. I've got all these different things in the past, but let's actually edit this one up. And again, very similar. By the way, your message can be written with AI, right, to make it easier and faster. Um, in this case, I've got, a bicycle materials and labor. Maybe I'm a bike shop and somebody dropped off their bicycle and I'm sending them an estimate or invoice for what I think is going to be needed. But here's the interesting things, right? So I can schedule this, but unlike estimates in invoices, I can choose which methods of payment I will accept on this invoice. And I'm going to come back to that in a second when we talk about cash discounting. But you can see I can choose both either or, credit or debit or ACH. I have this really neat thing. And Scott, you and I talked about a lot of these invoices, well, all these invoices are probably card not present payments. right? So
Yes.
they're subject to disputes. There's no EMV involved. There's risk, right? So check this out. In this customer actions for this invoice, I can I can enable, well, first of all, I can tokenize the card and save it for later if this is going to be a customer I'm working with over time. But I can say, look, I want the customer to acknowledge receipt of the product or the services before they see the pay button. So think about like what do they call it with Amazon, the door pirates that would steal the package off your
The
front step.
the porch pirates.
Porch pirates, right?
Porch
Um,
pirates, right?
Maybe I ship you this product and I send you an invoice after and you say, I never got it. Well, this little checkbox, you have to slide to acknowledge receipt of either services or product before you get access to that pay button. So again, it's another backup to defend you against disputes. So I think that's really cool. And then again, you can decide how you want to share this. Do you want to do it email, text message, cast the link, etc.
I like that layer of security that Square is providing in regards to confirmation for goods and services. You, sales agent, how many conversations have we had regarding merchants that are struggling with chargeback disputes or just disputes in general? Square provides that extra layer where the merchant has the option to check that box, pretty much telling their customers, hey, you actually got to confirm everything looks good. It's exactly what you ordered, you know, because now if, that customer says, yeah, yeah, everything looks good, they make the payment, but now they file a dispute. Well, guess what? John, who does that go back on? That goes back on who?
Well, it's going to come back on the seller unless they can have documentation. Oh,
But
by the
yet,
way, Scott, we forgot
God,
to attach this in estimates or invoices. You can also attach a contract.
yes. Yep.
So let me come back to the contract element, but there's just another e-signature to prove that the customer not only accepted the card payment, but accepted the services or the delivery. So we're going to talk about all those ways of protecting you. But this is what I really wanted to make a call out. So we talked about how to do dual pricing in the Square invoice world. Remember, we talked about how you could suppress or enable different payment methods. So you see here, I've got this fencing deal, and it's an expensive product. I'll show you this in a moment. In fact, let's just drill in here and see what this looks like. Whoa, come on, refresh up here. Uh-oh, the eternal spinner.
I was going to say, it's one of those things where when you and I do the dry run practice sessions, like we get right through it. But did you ever notice that your Square account gets stage fright every time we're recording these? Did you ever catch that?
Maybe it's the video link that's slowing it
It could
down.
be. It could
But
be.
let's try this again gingerly.
I can see. Okay.
Let's try this again gingerly. Let's see if it wants to play nice.
I could play another Rush song.
I think that might be in order. We'll see.
Okay. Okay. There you
So
go. I can see it.
I'm going to go back here. So again, we talked about duplicating this, right? You can clone these. You can turn them into a recurring series. So here's what I want to show you. The fence installation, right? We had 100 feet of fence for $20,000, state tax. So it's 21,325. Nothing fancy here. This is regular pricing. But let's go into this ACH with a cash discount. And let me show you what this looks like. So here we've got the same product, and then this is the same customer. I've applied a cash discount of 4%, and I've also applied an ACH convenience fee because Square maxes out their ACH at $10, right? So I'm recouping my processing cost for ACH. I'm offering this much greater discount, which is going to offset this. But if I actually go and edit this, let's open this up and duplicate it and show you what that looks like. Again, if it opens. There we go. Good.
Okay.
Here's where we take that same invoice. I've applied a discount, but I don't want them to receive the discount if they're paying by card, Scott.
Right.
So I go over here to the accepted payment methods and notice I've unchecked credit as a payment option. So this invoice that has the $800 cash discount can only be paid with ACH. And as I said, I have also added this fee to offset my ACH cost. So this is a true cash discount. I can send both invoices to the customer and they can choose which one they prefer, right? Really, really neat option because you can control these payment methods.
Now, in those respects, and you may or may not know the answer on this one, but when it comes to setting up that true cash discount with the ACH, is this one of those instances where our sales agents can do this independently when they're signing up a merchant, or is this something where they may need a little assistance from our folks at sales@paycompass.com?
No, this is all happens right here. So just like you'd apply a discount for anything else, friends and family, first responders,
Okay.
just create a 4% cash discount. And I'm going to pitch this, right? If you don't know where to apply a discount, go up here to search and type discount. And not only will it show you how and where to take you to the navigation to set up those discounts, it'll also give you articles about how to use them and create them.
Yep.
So this
And the
search
reason,
button helps you overcome, navigation fear, both you and your seller, right? They don't need training. They can just go right to it. So let me give an example. Let's just go right to item discounts. Leaving invoices for a second. There is my cash discount of 4%. You just tap to create and off you go. So you can do fixed fees, um, and you can also do additions, right? We talked about the added fee for, uh, oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's just do fee. Sales summary. All right, bad example, but you get the point.
yes.
Right, you get the point. So let's go back in and let's continue what we talked about over here in invoices. And I need to compress my items to find out where they're hiding. There they are. So we talked about invoices and all those neat features. So projects sits on top of all of these. And here's that neat project management board you talked about earlier, Scott. So you can see if people are just making inquiries into our services, if I've sent that HVAC proposal, I that I have not yet accepted it. Once I do, I can just drag and drop this into the booked once I set a date to it. Scott, your fence installation is in progress. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I looked out the window. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, once it's done, we can just drop it into the completed stage. So super easy. You can do attachments, images, estimates, contracts. We need to touch on contracts again, Scott.
Mm,
So this really wraps up this whole life cycle from estimate to invoice to job, in progress completed. So think about
so
plumbing companies. Again, we talked about HVAC, electric, anything where I'm estimating a job, waiting for an initial 20% payment. Okay, now we've scheduled the date. Next week, we're going to talk about scheduling. So scheduling isn't always just for salons to get our haircut. It could be scheduling our field service reps to
field
go from
services.
one location to another, first half of the day, second half of the day, etc. So scheduling comes back into play with this project management process. But again,
So
one
John,
tech stack, right? One square tech stack for all of it.
so let me ask you this question. So regarding this project management board, obviously pretty straightforward, drag and drop, full visibility. Let's talk about use cases. Who would benefit from having this view And how does it assist as far as the reporting goes? So is this like something that an office manager would be like, cool, now we got a snapshot. So use case, John, what are we talking about here?
So yeah, so let's pick on the HVAC company, right? Just because we've been talking about that so far. We looked at the estimate and the invoice for a full replacement of a heat pump, right? So that's a project. They might also go and do spring and fall tune-ups, not a project, just a work order that staff get dispatched to. So I see this as sort of a life cycle tool that goes along with just um, maintenance type dispatch of teams that carry out routine services, right? If that makes sense. And by the way,
Yeah.
the other thing that's really neat about this, Scott, if I go into my booked activities, right? So again, I can see all the related customers, the documents. I've actually uploaded an image of this unit that they're going to buy or be bid on. I can attach a value to this job, what our win confidence is, private notes that the staff only can see. Again, activities that are happening with this project. But here's the secret sauce. If if you're interacting with a customer or maybe a business that wants to monitor, I can share this and again, I can share this link, but I also have this little project link. This is what it would look like. So the customer can see what I've added, can interact and accept different estimates, sign the contracts. Here's another invoice. Maybe we're doing a couple different projects or a couple different invoices in the same project. What those different milestones have been completed. Customer facing portal view for projects. That's the other differentiator, right? Make sure both the customer does what they need to do in a timely fashion as well as the contractor. So moving on a little bit, Scott, we talked about contracts, and I'm going to actually move into that right over here in customers because a customer owns their own contract. So we talked about this a little bit the other day. But there's some pre-built templates because Square likes to help you, with your business and move these things forward. So I can see what contracts I have in place and what type they are, but they provide templates as well. So this is really interesting. We talked about um, risk mitigation, right?
Yes.
And I know we've had this in different places in the past, but credit card authorization, right? Even if I'm a lawn services billing you every 2 weeks for summer service, I may want to have your signature on a card processing authorization form, right? Again, dispute management, get that up front. Scott, you authorized me to charge you, every 2 weeks. Um, Great form there. Service agreements, right? I'm going to take care of your furnace for the next 12 months. It's going to cost X dollars a month. Sale of goods, completion, right? I know your satisfaction. We've done everything. You're satisfied. Get the signature. This is all digital signatures. Confirmation of delivery, you touched on a minute ago, for those porch pirates. And you can actually create your own templates. And so let's just pop into service agreement just for a second. Let's preview this template. Again, lots of basic stuff in here that makes sense. Again, I can sign it as the owner of the business. The recipient then would e-sign it, you know, based on its receipt. But Scott, I think you picked up on this too. You can actually edit the clauses of these contracts.
Yep.
So, I know all the lawyers like to get their hands in the cookie jar and make sure that, this is protecting you. So these are boilerplates, but in this clauses section, and this has nothing to do with Christmas, by the way.
Oh man.
This is the other clause.
All right.
You can add new clauses and assign them into these different templates. So you can customize them and make them your own, specific to business or your location or the whims of your law attorney group.
And just to make sure that I have clarity, John, just to be on the safe side. So when we're talking about the clauses, this is kind of like, for lack of a better term, like an addendum for something that I've already sent out to the customer, or is this in addition to the
No,
verbiage that I had created the first time? Go ahead.
this would actually be inserted into those contract templates.
There we go.
So,
Okay.
for example, terms, maybe, payment terms are defined in the contract, or that, 30 days we need the balance due, or it's 1.5% monthly interest, whatever those are just adding into those boilerplate templates that we just saw.
Templates. Got it.
You can
Okay.
also remove some of the clauses that are pre-populated if they don't suit you. But again, very flexible for any hybrid business. So let's see how are we doing on time? Looks pretty good. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. I'm going a little bit further down. We've worked our way through invoices. I'm going to skip recurring at the moment because we're going to talk about subscriptions later, and I want to draw some parallels. But let's go down a little bit further and talk about bill pay. Remember, our first session on Square Banking talked about Square Checking with instant funding. So is Square Checking funny, Scott? I don't know why it is, but
It just makes me giggle. And go ahead.
it
Continue,
does.
please.
It does. So anyway, if all of that instant funding is going into your Square Checking account, well, bill pay lives over here, right? So why not, like, why move it into a third party institution when it's right there in Square, and you can schedule your vendor payments. You're already receiving items and products and purchase orders from those same vendors, so why not schedule payments? But here's the interesting thing, Scott. Nobody has paper checkbooks anymore, but I can do ACH bank transfer payments to my vendors. I can send a digital check. They can even mail paper checks. I don't know why you do that with the cost of stamps these days. But here's the other really interesting thing. You can pay your vendors with your credit card. Let me say that one more time.
For the people in the back, what is it, John?
You can pay your vendors. Let's say we're paying our certain vendor weekly with an e-check or a paper check, and I can pay Square with a credit card to fund those. I get the float of paying once at the end of the month for my credit card bill. I also earn the rewards that come with it, right? So you can kind of do double dipping here. You can give that ACH payment to your vendor while racking up your rewards while holding off your weekly payments for one payment at the end of the month. So neat flexibility in bill pay here. And again, we're all under one ecosystem. So I don't have to log into my bill pay on my bank platform. You're now in your banking platform, in your Square platform, in your POS platform, all in this one tech stack. But let's continue. Keeps getting better. Vendors are how you set those up, but that's also for more of a purchasing function. Virtual terminal, you all know about, that's fine. Payment links are kind of fun, I have to say, Scott. Let's drill in here and look at some of these. So you remember there's different products, services, all of that lives within Square. So you can have a donation payment link, you can have a subscription payment link. A number of people asked me about using Square for schools and maybe parents donating to their certain team or classroom. So this back to school classroom fund, right? You could have different links for each classroom, or the football booster club versus the soccer booster club. So you can use this whole Square umbrella with dedicated links, and people then could choose where their funding goes to, right? We can do donations for nonprofits. Regular pay link, we all know about. You can do series. In this case, it says swim lessons, but you mentioned gyms earlier. Fencing lessons, maybe you buy your Taekwondo class for your kid. You buy 12 weeks in advance. And maybe when you buy a series, you get a discount off of buying those individually, right? All of those things can happen. And of course, monthly coffee clubs. So once these pay links are in place, and again, donations and payments aren't linked to a product, but the coffee club is linked to a product. So let me actually go up to items for a second and show you what that looks like. And let's find the coffee club when it wants to show me this list. I need that Jeopardy soundtrack, Scott.
I was gonna say, I've got another Rush song ready to go, pal.
There, there it is. That would be sweet. Okay, so we're going to do coffee. Here's our coffee club, monthly coffee club. Notice even in the club, I have whole or drip grinds that are available to choose from. Here's this little link, right? There's my payment link. So let's just copy that link and show you what that looks like. Oh, it's not Rent Tracks. After all, I need to copy this link, copy it, and then we'll go up here and put this in place. And all of a sudden now I have a pay link for my coffee club, and I can select whole or drip. And notice when I do a monthly subscription, right, I can add a discount for the subscription billed monthly. Again, cancelable at any time, but when you subscribe, I'm stealing you away from my competitors, right? You're automatically going to get a shipment of your favorite coffee from me without having to order it. So think about recurring payments. They're not associated with any product.
Right.
Subscriptions are. So wine clubs, coffee of the month club, your favorite jams and jellies, maybe a selection of 4 automatically sent out to you, whatever it is, replacing your dry and wet dog and cat food, right? Amazon does that all the time. So subscriptions, I think, are really interesting, both because they give you this volume discount and a gift for signing up. But when we go back into Square, and I'm going to close out of this, and I'm going to close up items and go back to our payments and invoices, under my orders section, notice I have all orders. I have got third-party delivery, but I have shipments. So if I click on this, you can see I ordered the coffee club the other day. Well, you can't see it yet, but
It's
you will see
coming.
it soon.
I,
So's Claus. All right, this looks like a good sign. Here we go.
da, 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 dun, da, dun,
There it is.
dun, dun, dun,
So
dun, boom, boom.
I ordered my coffee club subscription 3 days ago, or it renewed 3 days ago. Notice it shows as new for the status. It's in my ship to, because I know I have to ship this out. It's on my to-do list. Once I ship this, it moves into my shipped, no longer to-do list. But the other cool thing, I can attach tracking info. So Scott, you can see the progress of your coffee, how close it's coming. It picks up all of my address. I can add a carrier tracking number and all of this neat stuff. But look at this. I can actually create a packing list and a shipping label right here. Now, I do need to link to Shippo, which is their partner in the shipping area, but that's how you can choose. I want USPS or UPS or FedEx, and it prints the appropriate label with all of the appropriate information on. So really neat ways. I guess I need to get back into off of my settings and back in here. So that's really subscriptions in a nutshell, with the order section that shows you or your staff what items need to be packaged and sent out the door, and it gives you the tools to do so. Really neat stuff.
I think that's one thing we've been saying week after week, John, is the fact that Square always provides the guidance, provides the tools, so that if a merchant ever gets stuck, that search bar, MVP, manager bot, quite possibly the biggest MVP But to you, the sales agent, my gosh, I hope that you do spend the time to go through your demo account. And I hope that you're getting familiar with it day after day. And, for the most part, don't get so hung up on what features does it have? What can it do? Pay more mind to some of the call outs that Square does throughout the entire platform, where it will show a business owner how to successfully grow their business, manage their business, make the recommendations. John, I know we've got a few minutes left here. You got one more piece that you wanted to cover. We were talking about
We,
disputes and risk
yep,
management, sir.
we are
Yep.
almost there at the finish line. Not really a lot to show you here. Again, you can, as we've talked about, there's different tools like card authorizations and accepted shipments that you can prove and challenge disputes right in here. You can attach those. And Scott, you just mentioned too how Square helps navigate this. Well, here's a little insight, right? Here's how you can show clear proof of delivery, and they'll actually give you examples of how to use these different tools we've started talking about today to challenge disputes and have the proof to win them. So that's about all I want to say here. We've got again these three categories once they're resolved. But what I do want to touch on, and this risk management sounds a little boring. And maybe it is boring until it's successful for you. But I wanted to make another call out, and I'm going to go down to the rules of our risk manager and point out something that I think everybody should know about. And where is it here? Oh, three letters, 3DS.
3DS.
I don't know what it stands for, and it doesn't really matter. But
I
here's,
do. I do. Can I tell you?
tell me,
3D secure.
3D secure. Okay,
Yes.
so you've probably used this or had it when you buy airplane tickets, and you put in your card information, and it texts a pin to your phone. You take the pin and you plug it in to say that, yes, it's really me who owns this card, right? There's your 3D. It's essentially two-factor authentication.
Basically, two-factor authentication. You, the sales agent, very quickly, if 3DS is not a part of your conversations, I'm going to tell you right now, make the time to do the research on it, have an understanding of it, because as the payment industry continues to evolve, 3DS, I promise you right now, this is going to start becoming more and more prevalent with a whole bunch of offerings across the entire landscape, not just Square, but 3DS. We're talking about it now, but seriously, start getting familiar with it. It's going to become more and more prevalent. John, take it away, my man. I'm sorry.
So let's wrap it up. So again, in the create rules, you can set up, when these happen. So again, I want to authenticate with 3DS. Now, Craig had a customer that was getting all kinds of chargebacks for their online ordering restaurant site. I said, Craig, enable 3D secure, and all those problems will go away. First of all, two big things, right? It proves that you are, in fact, the card holder who's placing the order. But here's the big one. Agents, listen to this, right? If you process with 3D secure and there is a chargeback, Scott, who's liable for the chargeback with 3D secure? That's right. The issuing bank
The issuing bank.
is responsible for the chargeback, no longer you, the merchant, right? Shifting liability because the issuing bank gave you the PIN saying that, yes, you are the card holder. So think about that. It's like EMV in person, only better for card not present. Shift the liability to the issuing bank. That is crazy.
Yeah. So, real world scenario, just so we can give a clean breakdown here, because obviously all of you saw John and I have a little meltdown here and get all giddy and goofy because we love 3DS. But like the real world example that John just shared, where he spoke with the sales agent was getting, not the sales agent, the agent's merchant was getting nailed left and right with chargeback disputes with everything online by enabling 3D Secure. Here's the example. I'm the customer of John's restaurant. I go online. I order all of this food. And towards the very end, Scott Robert, here's my address, here's my card information. There's that 3DS section. Hey, Scott, are you really who you say you are? Well, yeah, I hit it. Now I get a text on my phone. Yep, it's me. I placed the order. But then tomorrow morning, I'm kind of feeling like a jerk because I didn't tell my wife I was ordering a whole bunch of food. Yeah, and it was really expensive. So now, like, I call the bank and I'm like, nope, wasn't me. Somebody else must have did it. I don't know how that could have happened. Well, guess what? Now, so now the merchant doesn't have a chargeback dispute because the merchant's like, well, I mean, you guys authenticated it. So you're going to have to work that one out. I'm promising you, friends, it's going to become a bigger conversation as time goes on. John, go ahead and take it away.
So, Scott, again, I just wanted to point out you can attach it to the different channels, and you can also add conditions like above a certain dollar volume. So maybe you don't
Thresholds.
want to impose this extra friction on everyone, but maybe above 50 or $100 or whatever. So anyway, that is really all I had to say about invoicing and payments today. Again, one little section with lots of features.
Excellent.
Should we
Got a few
open it
minutes.
up for
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to open it up for Q&A. Sales agent, this is the very last time you're ever going to have to raise your hand on a Square boot camp. I promise you. We're going to switch that out next week. But if you do have questions, throw them into the Q&A. If you do have a question, you want to come off mute, raise your hand. We'll take you off mute. You can get your question out there. John, you actually do have a question that popped up in the Q&A earlier. When it comes to the shipping, you were showing the whole shipping piece earlier. Does the to be shipped, meaning there was a field up there that said to be shipped, does the to be shipped section prioritize which goes out the door first, second, etc.?
So it is sorted by order date descending, right? So that is really your main filter. So you can't readjust this. Um, but you again, but it sort of says, it's sort of a first in, first out
You
scenario.
can just kind of see when they came in. Exactly.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.